Good day everyone, I'm Maria Luisa Ambesta and I'm going to discuss about the teaching poetry and the dramatic poetry. First, let us know what is poetry. Poetry can be used in teaching to help the students learn about phonetics, letter sounds, sentence structures, and parts of the speech, and other more or many more grammar skills. Poetry is a form of literature that uses aesthetic and rhythmic language to express their emotions, ideas, and experiences. Poetry also provides a freedom of expression for students to express themselves and their identities with metaphor, imagery, and symbolism. Being able to use language freely in this way will help students to gain new perspectives on life and ordinary experiences. And now let's move to the review on the genres of poetry. Poetry is a form of self-expression that knows no bound. It is safely divided into three genres, which is the lyric poetry, the narrative poetry, and the dramatic poetry. First is the lyric poetry. A lyric poetry uses song-like and emotional words to describe a moment, an object, feeling, or a person. A lyric poems do not necessarily tell a story but focus on the poet's personal attitude and state of mind. They use sensory language to set the scene and inspire emotions in the reader. So, ang lyric poetry, no, it expresses the personal emotions and the thoughts of the speaker. And it also characterizes the musicality and the emotional intensity. That is the lyric poetry. There are several types of poetry that one could classify as lyric poetry. First, we have the elegy. Elegy is a reflective poem to honor the dead. No, I have here an example that it expresses the sorrow or the lamentation often to a dead person. And next, we have the haiku. Haiku is a traditional Japanese form of poetry. It consists of 3 lines. The lines have a specific syllables, count 575. Next, we have the ode. Ode is an elevated poem that pays tribute to a person, idea, place, or another concept. Ode is a type of poem that expresses strong emotion, often in a formal and elevated style. For example, we have the Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. In this poem or in this example, it is a passionate speech or song dedicated to a specific person. And we have the sonnet. Sonnet is a descriptive 14-line poem with a specific rhyme scheme. It's the Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. And in this poetry na hinimo ni William Shakespeare, it illustrates the personal emotions using musical language, employing structured forms and exploring themes of love, beauty, and human experience. Done discussing about lyric poetry and its four main genres, now let's move to narrative poetry. Narrative poetry tells a story, just like a novel or a movie, but it uses the power of language, rhythm, and imagery to bring the story to life. No? So, a narrative poetry, no, it allows the poets to explore the different worlds, characters, and themes through the art of storytelling. And also, it is engaging, immersive, can leave a lasting impression on the readers. I have here some example of narrative poetry. First is the epic. Epic is a long narrative poems that celebrate heroic deeds and the history of a nation or culture. They often feature supernatural elements, gods, and a grand scope. The famous example of epic narrative poetry include the Odyssey by Homer and the Beowulf. Next, we have the ballad. Ballad is a short narrative poem often set to music that tells story of love, loss, adventure, or tragedy. They are often characterized by simple language, repetition, and a strong emotional impact. Examples of this include the Barbara Allen and the Ballad of the Green Berets. And the metrical romance. The metrical romance is a longer narrative that focuses on themes of chivalry, courtly love, and adventure. They often feature knights, damsels in distress, and magical elements. Example include is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and the Song of Roland. And now we have the last genre of poetry, which is the dramatic poetry. A dramatic poetry, also known as a dramatic monologue. It is meant to be spoken or acted. So I have here an example of dramatic poetry, which is the theater. The theater is like a movie, but real people will acting out the story on the stage, no? So they will exchanging dialogues, and that is the example of a dramatic. um, Many dramatic poems appear as monologue or soliloquy. First, we have the monologue. A monologue is a speech given by one character to another or by one character to the audience, also known as a dramatic verse when not in poetic poem, no? So, ang monologue is a speech that given by one character to another character, no? That is a monologue. And the soliloquy is a speech given by one character to himself or herself. So, kung ang monologue is one character to another character, ang soliloquy is from one character to herself lang pod. That is a dramatic representation of inner monologue. Similar to narrative poetry, dramatic poetry tells a story. Both forms use language to create narrative, weaving together events, characters, and themes. And also, both has emotional impact and use figurative language. But narrative poetry focuses on telling a story, while dramatic poetry focuses on dialogue and action. Always remember that lyric poetry is a type of poetry that expresses the personal emotions and thoughts of the speaker. It often written in a musical or song-like style with a focus on rhythm and rhyme. And narrative poetry tells a story much like a novel or a short story. It features characters, a plot, and a setting, often with a clear beginning, middle, and end. And lastly, the dramatic poetry. It is a type of poetry that uses the conventions of drama, such as dialogue, action, and conflict. It often features multiple characters and explores themes of human experience, relationships, and social issues.